How many of you have a friend or family member in a blue-collar job? That's everyone in the room. Blue-collar jobs are essentially labor-intensive jobs that have built our society, and I'm going to be talking about their importance today. My presentation was inspired by the Address to the Nation on Labor Day by Richard Nixon. Nixon talks about the working class and how it has built America in his speech, and how the work ethic should be preserved and still utilized today. In his speech, he said that the inner drive that for 2 centuries has made the American working man unique in the world, that has enabled him to make this land the citadel of individual freedom and opportunity. He is saying that the working class has essentially created America what it is today, and it's still very important. To provide some context about this situation, we need to know that America was built on hardworking, dedicated citizens that migrated from different places, and they were all focused on one thing: to maintain a job. These workers are becoming less and less common over time due to the loss of the jobs that they were employed in. And this is shown in A World Without Work by Derek Thompson, and he talks about what the world could be like when labor-intensive jobs no longer employ people, but instead just utilize technology. This led me to the question of why should labor-intensive jobs be valued more in modern American society and prioritized over technology? They should be valued more because they not only fuel the economy and provide more jobs for citizens, but they also provide a different future path for students that are currently in school today. Labor jobs in the economy. Labor jobs provide more jobs for the economy, and technology doesn't have a salary or income, so technology is in no way benefiting the economy. And from James Heskett, a professor of business, he stated that manufacturing and factory jobs are essential to not only creating an economy, but also keeping it stable. Labor jobs also increase overall economic flow and benefit because with more jobs comes more money, and with more money comes a more stable economy. And having more jobs available will decrease unemployment rates, which will keep our country out of a depression and keep our country stable. In the far image over there, it shows a factory where technology is being utilized in every way and where people are no longer being employed. And to this image over here, it is showing a factory that is a little bit older and how many people were employed there. The difference is drastic. Technology and unemployment. Loss of labor jobs would increase unemployment, and we have to ask ourselves if this is ethical. Is it ethical to replace people with technology and prioritize technology over our citizens? Technology is replacing these people in modern day, and we need to stop this. People won't be capable of supporting themselves or their families without a job. Info-Based Learning Database said that as these jobs disappear, millions of Americans have drifted towards poverty and have not been able to support their families or gain new jobs because of their limited education. In the top graph, it represents the United States unemployment rate, and as you can see, that has gone up in recent years. And then this bottom graph, it represents the labor force participation rate. And there is a direct correlation between the two. As the labor force participation rate goes down among people, the unemployment rate goes up. The future of students. When talking about what jobs need to be prioritized and what jobs need to be cut, we must consider the students that are currently in work today. Labor jobs give students a different option, and some students do learn differently. For example, kinesthetic learners prefer hands-on work, so they might prefer a job where they will be working in the labor force. And labor jobs could potentially keep students from dropping out of high school because they will see a future where they will be successful and happy in their job instead of just sitting at a desk all day. Some opponents may argue that higher education should always be prioritized and the advancement of the United States needs to stay the primary goal. Although the advancement of the United States is important, the good of the people should always come first, and even before technology and the United States rank in the world. Some solutions for this issue are that first, we would increase the amount of respect for labor jobs in young people, which means teachers would not just push their students to be in college, but would instead let them know that there's a different option and show them that college isn't for everyone. And second, we would implement regulations for the amount of technology used in factories, which means that instead of having too much technology or too many people in factories, there would be a compromise between technology and people where both take equal part in producing goods. And we would also use technology to create labor jobs instead of take them away, which could happen in many different ways. For example, if technology were to create new products, then people could produce them instead of technology doing both. There also comes limitations and implications with the solutions presented. First, there will always be a parental influence among children, which means that some parents who may have higher education jobs will always want their students to go to college, and they will want their students to not remain in a labor job because they believe college is the best choice for them. And this negative influence will definitely impact how the students view labor jobs. And second, these solutions could complicate the development of the United States because technology will be limited. The technology obviously would not advance as quickly or as efficiently. And there will always be those people that disagree, especially those who do not support labor jobs and instead believe that higher education jobs are more important or higher education jobs should be prioritized over these labor jobs. In conclusion, labor-intensive jobs should be valued more and prioritized over technology because they provide jobs for the less fortunate, provide future students who are not compatible with classroom learning with the future, and they would also fuel the economy. Labor jobs built America, and they will continue to do so in the future. Thanks.
Okay, Sydney, a couple of questions. How did you select the strategies you used to gather information or conduct research, and were they effective?
Well, first I kind of started, obviously, in the stimulus packet. I found some interesting information in there, and I just kind of entered some search words in EBSCO into Google Scholar, and I continued on by finding more and more detailed sources about this until I was able to narrow down my question into something that could work.
And so do you feel like it was effective overall?
I do.
And your second question is, if you had more time, what additional research would you conduct related to the issue?
I think I would definitely include a more scientific lens if I had more time, because then I could talk about the mental health of the students and how not having that outlet of labor jobs would affect them, and maybe even the mental health of workers and how being unemployed affects them and how it makes them less motivated.